After configuring the routes in the API gateway, next we can start testing. So first, let me start the service registry application. Eureka server has started. Let's refresh the interface for the Eureka server. And now there are no any instances available yet. So let's start the API gateway next. API gateway has started and it has registered as a discovery client on Eureka server. So let's go to the Eureka server and let's check whether we can see the API gateway as a client. Yes, under the instances, now we can see API gateway with the status of up and on port 8181. Let's start the customer service application next. Customer service application has started on port 80881 and we can see the logs saying it was registered on Eureka server. So let's go to the Eureka server to confirm that. Yes, we can see customer service is up and running on port 8081. Now let's start the order service next. Now we can see order service also started and on port 8082 and it was registered as a discovery client on Eureka server. Let's go to the Eureka server again and let's refresh and we can see order service is also up and running on port 8082. Next, let's test these endpoints which we used before. So earlier we used the local host with port 8082 as the port to get the orders. We did that because our order service is running on port 8082. But now, because we have a API gateway in place, which is running on port 8181, we should be able to call the same APIs by replacing this port number with 8181, which is the port that API gateway is running. Let's try to send this request and see what we get. So we are getting 404 not found as the response. Let's go to the API gateway. Um, so I did some digging into why we are getting that 404 not found error, and I found that it's because of this dependency that we have used in our pom.xml file. So when we were creating the application using start.spring.io Spring Initializer, so when we want to add the gateway dependency, this is what we got from the Spring Initializer. So that's why we use this dependency. But uh, it looks like we should use a different dependency other than this one. So instead of this Spring Cloud Starter Gateway Server WebMVC, we need to use Spring Cloud Starter Gateway dependency. And let's replace, let me comment out this. And instead of that, let me add Spring hyphen cloud hyphen starter hyphen gateway, and after that I can click the load Maven changes. Actually, this Spring Cloud Starter Gateway, that's the official production ready API gateway for Spring, which is built on top of Spring Web Flux. The Starter Gateway Server Web MVC, which was used before, uh, actually does not exist as a starter. Rather, it's a experimental module and not yet fully production ready. So that could be the reason that we got the error. Now it gives the message sync uh, successful, and looks like the it, dependency has resolved now. Let me restart the API gateway. the API gateway has started, and however, we see some warnings saying Spring Cloud Gateway Server is deprecated. It will be removed, and it's suggesting this. Uh, However, we can still use this Spring Cloud Starter Gateway dependency, and also in this uh, logs it says the use of configuration keys that have been renamed was found in the environment. So in our application.properties file for the API gateway, we have used Spring Cloud Gateway routes. Then we use the ID, URI, and predicates. So it's suggesting to replace that with Spring Cloud Gateway Server Webflux routes instead of the Spring Cloud Gateway routes. What's happening here is with Spring Cloud 2023.x and beyond, the internal architecture of Spring Cloud Gateway has been modularized to support multiple server technologies like Webflux and WebMVC. And because of that, the generic key, which was used before the Spring Cloud Gateway routes, has been redefined. Actually, it has been refined. So now more specific technology stack. Uh, it was refined for actually to more specific technology stack like Webflux or MVC. So that's why it is suggesting to use this new configuration key to use because of that. And it's actually suggesting for the Webflux. So that's the idea that we are seeing this kind of message. But uh, actually, we don't have to replace this unless we are building a custom gateway module. Uh, because this is automatically going to map. Uh, However, it's automatically uh, mapping to the correct replacement internally. So it says here each configuration key has been temporarily mapped to its replacement for your convenience. So because of that, we don't have to explicitly change this, and we can still use this with Spring Cloud Gateway and this configuration key that we have used already. So let's go to the Postman, and let's try to access the endpoints. So these endpoints, we have the local host as the host name and 8082 as the port. That's because order service is running on port 8082. So if we go to our Eureka server and refresh, and we can see order service is up and it's running on port 8082. That's the reason we used earlier this port to access the order service. But we don't want to access this with this host name anymore, because we have now configured the API gateway, and our requirement is every client should send any request to the API gateway, and API gateway then should forward the request to the appropriate microservice. So if we go to the Eureka server and if we check the API gateway, it is running on port 8181. So to see whether we are able to send a request to the API gateway, and if the API gateway can resolve it to the correct URL to get the response from the appropriate microservice, what we have to do is, in our client, we have to replace this port with API gateway port number. So I'm going to change the port number to the API gateway port number, which is 8181, and we can see it here. So if we have configured correctly, we should be still able to get this same response if we send the request to the API gateway. So let's click the send button and see whether we are able to get the response. Yes, we are able to get the response with status of 200 OK. If we go to the get all customers request, and it also has the 8081 as the port because customer service is running on port 8081, and we earlier used that port to get the customer details from the customer service microservice. So let's replace this port 8081 with our API gateway port number, and let's click the send button, and if it respond with the same response like before, then we can be sure that our API gateway is working successfully. Yes, we are getting the response with 200 OK. So that means our request is first going to the API gateway, and then API gateway is forwarding that request to the customer service microservice, and then we are getting the correct response. Similarly, let's try to get the response for the get order by ID request as well. Earlier, we used the 8082 as the port number to access the get order by endpoint because order service is running on port 8082, and let's replace this 8082 with 8181, which is our API gateway port number, and let's try to get the response by clicking the send button. So in this case, we are getting 404 not found. Let's try the get customer by ID request as well. So get customer by ID still has 8081 as the port number because that's the port in which customer service microservice is running. So let's replace that with 8181, and let's click the send button. And for the customer service, here also we are getting the 404 not found for the get customer by ID REST endpoint. In this case, it should be something related to the configuration we have added in our API gateway. So in application.properties file, we have added the predicates as this for the orders, order service slash API slash orders. But in this case, we are trying to add another path variable after the orders. So this predicate does not reflect this path variable scenario at the moment. So for customer service microservice also, we added a predicate like this, API slash customers. But when we want to get the customer by ID, we are adding another path variable with slash and the customer ID. So this predicate does not reflect that scenario. So we have to change this slightly to reflect both customer by ID and get all customer endpoints, as well as for orders also get all orders and get order by ID scenarios. So let's change this. I'm going to copy this and let me comment out the current path that we have given. So I will paste it and I will add a slash with star, and for the customers also we will do the same thing. And after that, let's stop it and let's run it again. So the API gateway has started, and let's try to access the same endpoints again. Let's try to access the get order by ID endpoint. Yeah, now we are getting the response uh, with order details and customer details. Similarly, we can try to access the get customer by ID endpoint. Yes, we are getting the customer details as well. Let's see whether get all orders and get all customers are still accessible. Yes, we are getting the response for the get all orders. And let's try the get all customers as well. So we can see that we are getting the response for get all customers as well.